She waited 3 months in negotiation until they gave her what she wanted.
3 months? That's a whole quarter, yo.
She made him wait 3 months because she told me, she's like, well, at least you have to walk into these conversations and know you're worth what you're asking for. Don't ever bend for these companies. And I'm like, how do you not? 3 months would give me mad anxiety. Like, I was anxious, and it was like a week that I waited. It was a week. And every day I was like, should I just hit him up? Like, I should just call him and be like, hey, I'll take it.
Mi gente, dímelo, what's good? Welcome to another episode of the Quién, Eres podcast, brought to you by Plural, where our mission is to redefine professionalism. But like you, many have been trained to believe that who we are authentically is considered unprofessional, or people say it'll take away from your executive presence. Well, this podcast was created to showcase representation of people challenging that perception. I'm hoping that it will inspire you to be your most authentic self, even at work. On this week's episode, we are featuring a conversation with the homie Odalis, who also has a podcast called Hella Latina. On both of our podcasts, we typically share other people's experience as an opportunity to get deeper into their story. So once a month, her and I have a live conversation streamed on LinkedIn as well as YouTube on a series that we're calling Unfiltered. The clip that you heard in the intro is from that live conversation that was also recorded. So we're publishing it as an episode for those that weren't able to join. Now, we do these at the end of each month. So if you want to tune in for the April episode, be sure to follow us on YouTube at Plural and add me on LinkedIn at Pavel Martinez. I promise I'll do a better job of promoting it on Instagram and TikTok and all the other social media apps that we're on. In today's conversation, the theme that we're talking about is mentorship. What does it mean? Do we have any mentors? How is that different from having a board of directors? A board of directors? I thought that was only for companies. And also, Odalis has a new job. So we'll talk about what was interviewing even like for her now that she has LinkedIn on her resume compared to when she didn't feel as confident without a tech job on her resume. You'll be surprised and proud to hear about how she showed her most authentic self during these interviews. All right, now that you have a little bit more context into the conversation, into the series, let's get into the episode.
Hey, feel like we haven't done this in so long. It's been a minute.
I know. And I was running late because I had another meeting like right before this, and I looked at the time and I was like, oh, I got time. But then I saw your text. I was like, I don't have time.
No. I was like, ¿se durmió or is he good? Because you're never late. So I'm usually the one that's late. So I was like, are you okay? Do you need me to do something?
You were surprised. You're like, wait, I'm the one that he should be texting me.
That part. I came on and I was like, oh, he's not here. Okay, I'm early. It's off brand. It's off brand for me, but hey.
All good. Well, how was your week going?
You know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm in my bag right now. I am going through this transition period, which you know about. But the folks that are tuning in, I am leaving the Bay Area, which my podcast Hella Latina is a tribute to the Bay Area because this is where I feel like big things happened in my life. And so it's kind of this weird gratitude and grieving all at the same time. And so this week is emotional for me and bittersweet. So
does that mean you're hitting up all the spots and you're just like, I haven't been here yet, I haven't been there yet?
Oh yeah, I've been these last few weeks. I'm like, oh yeah, let's go to Berkeley, let's go to Oakland. I went to Oakland last night with my friends. I've been trying to do everything. But yeah, sad. So how are you?
You're in full tourist mode.
I am. I'm tired already, though. I'm not used to going out all the time.
Yo, I get it. I'm doing really well. Well, the call that I just had was about a speaking engagement that I'm flying out for. This is actually going to be the biggest one that I've actually presented at.
What?
and it's probably
All
going
the
to
round of
be
applause.
the most diverse audience that I present at as well.
Oh, wait, tell me
And I
more.
mean, diverse is like it's going to be mostly white people, and it's going to be
Oh,
2,000 people.
wow. Wow, 2,000 people? How you
Yeah,
feeling?
excited,
Okay, Pavel.
so
That's
excited.
fire. That is
So
so
it's not
fire.
just for their ERGs; it's for like the company as a whole. So that's why it's going to be mostly white people because like
Wow.
just the nature of any organization is mostly white people. So
Wow.
yeah, but they're incorporating sort of like DEI conversations within the content. So
Mm.
I'm part of that schedule. So I'm very excited to present at that conference. It's on April 16th. I don't know if I could say where it is yet, but
I know
whatever,
it's
it's
like,
going
can we
down.
slide? No, it's internal,
Nah, I
sounds
think it's just
like.
for the company. Yeah, but I'm really excited too because I think since this is like a really big audience, 2,000 people, with like most of the
Mm.
audience, it's gonna be like hybrid. So some people dialing in, but most of the people are
Mm.
gonna be in person. I think I want to like capture the whole thing, kind of like my own comedy special kind of shit.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
You
Should
know
we
what I
call
mean?
HBO right now? What should we call him?
Yep. Wait, you didn't call him yet? What are you waiting for?
You're like, I've been wanting that. That's so
Yeah.
fire. You should be. I hope you're like really celebrating all these wins. I know we had conversations about that, but I really hope that you are celebrating Babel because that's huge. That's huge.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And shout out to the people that joined. Noel said the two most real people on here. Also, coworker?
Ew, yes, we coworkers. It's been
That's
fire. We
so
seen each
dope.
other one time at the office.
That's so cool. Like I rarely have had that
Yeah.
experience where like you actually run into people you know at work. It's like as if it's like a bar or something. Like it's so weird.
It was so funny because Noelle and I were talking about it. We were at the office having lunch and we were just saying how weird it was. Like we met a year or so ago on the podcast, like as a guest, and we had no idea that we'd eventually be coworkers or work in the same place in the same location. And it's really fire. It's really fire. This pandemic homie community that we've both built. We're slowly meeting them in person and being able to just like be in community in real life. So it's fire. Shout out to
Yo,
you, Noelle.
there are a lot of people that I've met online and I have never met in person and I'm
And you
just
feel like
excited
you
for
know
that
them.
moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you, I've only met you once. I feel like we're like
Mhm.
best friends. Maybe
I
that's
know.
just me.
Who's gonna let him know? I'm just kidding. No, we are.
Ah!
We really are. We really are. I feel
Let
like it's
me down gently, please. Please.
no, no. I feel like it's really because it's so intimate. You probably feel this on your podcast too, but like on the podcast,
Yeah.
I feel like I hear such intimate, vulnerable stories, and vulnerability is direct connection or the direct line to connection. And I feel like I'm so connected to so many people I've had on the podcast, and it's really fire. And I've never met a lot of them in person.
Yeah. It hits different. Well, I mean, this month well, first of all, welcome everybody to March's March's episode. March's episode of the
The
Unfiltered
marches is
series.
throwing me off.
Yeah, damn it. All right. Well,
Marches.
welcome to another episode of the Unfiltered series with your boy Pavel and the homie Odalis. This month we're talking about overall like mentoring, networking, and I mentioned earlier that Odalis has a new coworker. Shout out to Noel, and I want to know just like this was a recent opportunity that you secured. What was that experience like interviewing? Like, was it very different compared to like the last time you interviewed? Just like, what was that like?
Oh, so different. On a very basic level, the clout that tech gives you and having LinkedIn on my resume, just like the interviews were so different. Pre LinkedIn, it was so hard for me to even like try to break into the industry. Like people would look at my
Yeah.
resume and be like, what are these companies? What did you do? No interest. So I just think right off the bat, I had a little bit of privilege and clout because of where I worked. But what was different and what I'm really proud of is that I walked into every single interview and I was hella me. And almost to like almost a little too extra because I really wanted to like show I'm like, this is me, like this is who you're hiring, my Latina ass, this is who you're gonna get every single day. And I mean, I wore at Latino in texture at one point. I wore my big hoops. And what was so funny, and I actually just had a talk with my manager today. He's like, I loved you in your interviews because you didn't have just like the expertise, the skills, but he's like, you had so much energy and presence. And I was like, oh, that's fire. But it was, I just really showed up into those interviews with my hoops and my red lipstick with my little wings, and was just hella me. And
Wait, you
I
wore a
mean,
t-shirt to an
I didn't,
interview?
I did with a little like, blazer on top because I was trying to look cute. But yeah, it was a tasteful, like professional cute, but or whatever that's called. But yeah, I did. I wore my Latino in texture and yeah, I really just showed up and I didn't know how that was going to land in an international global company where culturally it's not always the same, right? Professionalism looks different in different places. But I was like, I just really want to show up as me because no more of that compromising yourself for these spaces, which you know a lot about, Babid.
Yeah, but what gave you the confidence to just be like, why was it so different this time around? Was it that you just felt like, yo, I got LinkedIn on my resume, I already got one tech job, like it's like, huh?
I mean, no, I was hella scared because what did you tell me when we were talking about this? You were like, in this economy, like it's a scary world out there. And I mean, I can't tell you, I had been interviewing earlier because this whole layoff situation was really scary to me. And when I got laid off, literally 2 weeks after that, I found out I got the job at TikTok. And what was interesting to me though was there was a lot of fear there with like, what if what if they don't like me because of how I'm dressed? What if they're just like, she a little too much? Or what if they're just thinking all of those, what if they're creating any type of reason to not hire me in this economy? You know what I mean? But I think the fear of compromising who I am was way greater than the fear of not getting the job. And you know what I mean? Like I work so hard to like love who I am and love who I see in the screen and like walk into any interview and know like doesn't matter where I come from or how I speak or how I show up, I'm more than qualified for this role. You know what I mean? So it's yeah, I just wanted to show up as me. That was the confidence.
Yo, you said something wild during the interview that you told me about that I was like, that's so irrelevant to the job, but here you are, like making sure they know about it. Like I was like, why would you even bring that up? And I was like, yo, they still got to do you. Yo, you said that you said that during the interview you were like, yo, I do this unfiltered series with Pavel. Like, I don't know if you're cool with it, but like, this is not gonna
Oh,
stop. I was like, yo, why would you tell him
I
that?
did. I did.
yo,
Because
yo,
I
she want to connect with y'all so bad. She want to do this series so bad that she risked
did
not
too.
taking the. Yo, that's crazy. In this
I did. I
economy,
made sure. I made sure to tell him. Babel Martinez, y'all know him.
yo, you
I
crazy.
did. I did. Because again, I'm not this shit's where my heart is and I get that we need to pay bills and do all of that, but there are companies that exist that will let you do that and they won't tell you how to control your time outside of work. You know what I mean? So I was very adamant about saying, "Hey, I do this unfiltered series. I do a lot of speaking engagements. I do this, I do that." Like it's not about the company or where I'm working, it's about me and my business, which always feels kind of dope. I'm like, I got my own stuff to talk about, not talk about your company.
Yeah, it's
But
so
yeah.
dope when you put those things out there and people on the other end, instead of saying like, oh, let me try to control some of those things or try to filter or say like you can't do this and that, they see it as like a benefit. They're like, oh, this is
Mhm.
amazing that you do things outside of work, like you have passions and interests, like
Yeah.
how can you use some of those skills to like your job now, or how
Mhm.
can like you being a presence outside just makes the company look better if you're doing dope shit, right?
Yeah, yeah. That literally I hope every company thinks that way, but not every company does. But yeah, it makes you look fire. I'm like, that's your employee doing dope shit in the community. Aren't you proud? They work for
Yeah,
you.
there's gotta
Yeah.
be a level of like because talk about the clout, like you spoke about that earlier about like working at LinkedIn, like there is clout saying like that you've even worked at tech.
Yeah.
I'm assuming like when you were interviewing, like did you still want to stay in tech? Because there's a lot of people that were laid off and now they're just like, yo, fuck tech, I'm never doing tech again. Like, y'all convinced me to go into tech because of all these like get ready with me videos on TikTok
Mm,
and
mm,
Instagram and YouTube.
mm.
But now I took the job, risked my career, and y'all got me here fired. Like, I'm gonna go back to teaching or this or that. But like, I always tell people like, yo, like people are getting fired everywhere. It's not just tech. Like, there's still
Everywhere.
amazing opportunities. Like, I'm sure you got a bag. I'm sure Noel got a bag. Like all these people, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Are you happy you're still in tech?
Yeah, I feel like my mindset shifted in a different direction more than like fuck tech. It's more of like, honestly, I love that I have honestly, when I got laid off, I was so happy I had Hella Latina. I was like, man, I love that I have something that's mine that can't be taken away from me like that. But I think my mind shifted in that respect of like, I know that this is at will employment shit. Like there is a risk that I take when I go into any company, whether it's tech or another industry, that they could fire my ass whenever they want, whenever they please. But at the end of the day, I have my business that brings me a lot of joy and also gives me it's mine. Again, like no one's going to take that away from me unless I give it to them. But I feel like my mind shifted in that respect, not so much like fuck tech, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think one of the benefits of like working for some of these big companies is also just like the people that you get to meet. Like, there's some really, really dope people at some of these companies that
Yeah.
you end up taking those relationships to your next job, even though you may not even work with them, right? And I think you had a
Mhm.
really interesting experience because some of the people you used to work with, like, not necessarily helped you get the job, but they helped also like boost your confidence and teach you things like how to negotiate a better salary and a rate. Um, but your
Mm.
example, I think, really shifted my perception of what a mentor is supposed to like actually look
Yes.
like. Like I
Yes.
always, when I thought of mentors, I always thought of like, let me go look for a mentor that looks like me.
Mhm.
But here you are, you found somebody that doesn't look like you, and it was an interesting spin on like the type of advice that they were able to give you, right?
Mhm. I Let's jump into this mentorship topic because
Yeah,
I
let's
have so many questions for you and why you don't have mentors because I thought that was the most interesting thing. But yeah, for everyone that's tuning in, I never like go into a conversation. I'm like, can you be my mentor? Never really ask that unless it's like I just said it right now, like a joke, and then it's like real though. I'm like a mentor, which has happened once. Shout out to Arlene. But in this conversation, I met with someone who works in the D&I space at LinkedIn. Amazing, amazing woman, Allison Crawford. Shout out to you.
man, you
But
call
she
our
works
names
at
out.
LinkedIn. She deserves so many flowers. Like this woman is incredible. But I met with her and I had kept hearing her name everywhere. Like, oh, AC, her nickname is. She's so fire. She's so dope. She's so cool. She's a badass. I kept hearing these things about her. So I'm like, as a curious person, I'm like, well, let me reach out to AC and see what this is all about. And so I met with her and just the dopest woman, doesn't look like me. It comes from a similar socioeconomic background as me, but doesn't look like me. It didn't, she's a white woman and she dropped so many gems on me, which I didn't even ask for, like want, but it was exactly what I needed at the time because I felt like I don't look at a white woman or a white man and think this can be my mentor, to be really clear and honest. Like, I don't think that. I look at a Latino man or a Latina woman, I'm like, oh, yes, mostly Latina women. I'm like, oh, my mentor. You know what I mean? And when we had that conversation, I was like, AC, I have a question. I'm going into negotiation with a few companies because I was interviewing and I was like, can you help me with that negotiation piece? And she's like, oh, absolutely. And she schooled me. And the one thing that I'll remember and take away and I'll share with everyone that talks to me about negotiation is she was like, the companies can wait. And I'm like, AC, I'm not years into my career. Like I'm still mid-career. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm not at the level you are at. I don't know if I could just let them wait like that. She's like, no, 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 they can wait. And I kept pushing back on her, and I was like, "No, AC, I don't think you
You're like, you don't
understand.
get it. You don't get it.
I'm like, I'm a Latina woman. They could really just be like, no, we don't want you." And she's like, "Oh, at least they can wait." And she kept saying that to me, and I'm like, this must be the difference in culture, because I don't like I'm scared things will be taken away from me
Yeah,
all
because
the
they
time,
have. Because they
because they
have.
have. And I
What does she
waited
mean
very
by wait? Like, how long does she wait typically to like respond to people?
she waited 3 months in negotiation until they gave her what she wanted.
3 months? That's a
Three,
whole
she made
quarter, yo.
She made him wait 3 months until, because she told me, she's like, "Well, at least you have to walk into these conversations and know you're worth what you're asking for. Don't ever bend for these companies." And I'm like, how? How do you not? How do you not? 3 months would give me mad anxiety. Like, I was anxious, and it was like a week that I waited. Fuck it, it was a week. And every day I was like, should I just hit him up? Like, I should just call him and be like, "Hey, I'll take
Yeah.
it." But I mean, just an incredible woman who was just so adamant about, like, they can wait, they can wait. And they came back and they met my offer, and it was exactly what I was looking for. And the fact that she helped me just stay confident and grounded in that moment where I was having so much stress. And it's a cultural thing, right? It's scarcity mindset. I'm like, I'll take it, especially in this economy. Like, I'll negotiate later when it's popping.
Yeah.
But she was like, no, they can wait.
That's that's dope. And I'm so
Fire.
glad you were able to make that connection internally. And who knows, like
Yeah.
that could be like a long-term relationship.
Yeah, yeah. What's even more dope about her is that she ended up bringing me into an ERG event with another company, and it was so fire. As we were talking about negotiations, she was like, "Oh, Lalise, I know you do a lot of speaking engagements. I just got invited to do one, but I want to do it with you." And I'm like, "What?" And we ended up doing an event together, and it was so fun. She's, again, incredible. But it's crazy because I feel like I tend to look at mentorship just as you said. I look for Latina women, brown women. I look for women of color as mentors. Occasionally a man, but not really, if I'm being honest. And I feel like I don't do enough to talk to mentors or folks that are outside of the culture, and that's one thing that I'm still kind of unlearning, and I feel like I'm doing it slowly, is being able to step outside my comfort zone and speak to people who don't have the same background as me, and being able to be mentored and coached by them, because AC had a very different mindset of, like, they can wait, versus me, who was like, nah, I'll just take it. You know what I mean? So I think it's powerful to find mentors who don't look like you, who come from a little more privilege and access too. Not that I'm saying this woman was like hella privileged, but I think there's a privilege in not coming from a culture that's consistently like underserved and overlooked. You know what I mean? And there's a difference in mindset, difference in how they move and maneuver the world. And there was so much learning and growth that came from that.
That's so dope. And I'd love to hear. I'll share a little bit about like my mentorship experience, but I'd love to learn too. Like, eventually, like, is that the only mentor that you've ever had, or have you had others? And it's so interesting that what seems to be a mentor relationship is from a person that you've never worked with. The only person
Mhm.
that I would like even consider a mentor is like a former manager. And
Oh.
that was when I was in college, and it just happened to be my manager. So we were working together every day. So we happened to build a strong relationship. And because of that, after the internship, like, we just continue texting. Like, he would text me, I would text him. So it would be someone that like I would kind of ask for advice. But over time that just kind of ended. Not
Mhm.
because he like did anything or I did anything. It's just like he was in a certain type of industry, a certain type of profession. Like, that's when I wanted to go into like finance, and I wanted to be an analyst and all of those type of things. And as I moved into sales, the story that I told myself in my head is that this person doesn't have that sales experience. Like, let me stop asking them for advice, or
Mhm.
well, and maybe this person doesn't understand my experience, because this was like a white man who was like dope, all these things, but from a cultural standpoint didn't necessarily understand my experience. But
Yeah.
lastly, and most importantly, what my therapist tells me every single time when we can't figure it out, she's like, maybe it has to do with your dad. Like,
Oh,
I
wow.
have so much trouble asking people for help because I think they're going to
Yeah.
let me down. Whereas, like, I'm just really hyper independent to a fault where, like, even in romantic relationships, like, they get upset with me because they're like,
Yeah.
let me help you. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I, I could do it by myself.
Ooh, can we dive deeper into that? Do you mind?
Yeah, sure.
I want to talk more about just that. I mean, that was post college. You didn't have a mentor after that? Or what was the relationship with mentorship after that?
Nah, I can't say I had a mentor. Like I've had various managers, but even that also like I don't even know how to like what I would consider a mentor is like a continued resource that you can like tap into and
Mm.
get guidance from. Like I've had friends, I've had connections,
Yeah.
but like a mentor? Like for example, like when I started my speaking engagements, I had friends and connections and people that I would reach out to. There isn't that consistency though, where it's like I don't know, every week, every other week, every month. And that's kind of like what I consider a mentor is that consistency. So I
Yeah.
haven't had that. I've had various connections that have been resourceful friends, but nowhere I would put the label on a mentor though.
That's interesting because I feel like my definition of a mentor is different. Doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just mine is more like people come into it's almost like a relationship, like you're dating. Like people come into your life for a certain reason, or you have mentors for different things. You know what I mean? It's almost like I don't know if you've heard this term. I hear it in corporate all the time. So I like it's kind of yucky sometimes to use it, but like board of directors to me is
Yeah.
real. Like I will not be able to sit down and write myself a whole gym plan. That's why I have my trainer. My trainer does all the plans for me. She knows like what my goals are fitness wise and I follow my plan. You know what I mean? I can't sit down and do that. I know that's not my strong suit. But I don't know if I'm going to work with her for the rest of my life type of thing. Maybe she will be a continued resource for me to tap into, but I think mentors shift in your life depending on your season, your career, your life, what you need, what you don't need. And I think a lot of my mentors were friends or become friends. And at one point, it
Mm.
becomes weird to even call a mentor. I'm like, you're just the homie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, yo, what is that stage? All right, let's go. Let's equate it to dating. Like in
Yeah.
dating, y'all are talking for a certain time, but like y'all aren't in a relationship until someone asks the other person to be in the relationship. Like, do you use the word mentor? Be like, hey, do you want to be my mentor to make it official? Like, how is it official, or does it never have to be official?
You know, sometimes my mentors
Why
that
am
I
I trying to
have,
put why am I trying to put
yeah,
label on things? Like, I don't know.
it's a new type of mentoring, okay, Pavel?
Yeah, yeah, no labels, no labels.
No labels.
Yeah.
But honestly, if I'm being really, really honest, I feel like a lot of my mentors maybe don't even realize they're my mentors, but they've
Yeah.
mentored me in certain areas. Like it's never a Babette, can you
Yes.
be my mentor? You know what I mean? Sometimes it
Okay.
is though. Like I said, there's one relationship with Arlene. Amazing. She's my mentor that I met at LinkedIn. Met her right before I joined at LinkedIn. She didn't even know I was applying. And I just remember telling her, "You're so fire. Can you be my mentor?" as a joke, but it was like real inside. And she was like, "Yes, like you're my menticita, you know?" And it became a relationship. But that was me just wanting it to be official because I didn't want her to go somewhere else.
That's really interesting. So maybe I have mentors. I just yeah, I think the word mentor, like a lot of words, just like scare a lot of people, and it's intimidating to
Yeah.
me. Like I kind of like cringe a little bit because it feels, and even me when I was labeling mentors, I instantly thought about the time commitment, and it's probably because I've been asked to be mentors before, and I'm just like I don't know if I can allocate that time,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
even I sometimes don't want to be a mentor with a label, but I'll be
Mm.
your friend, I'll be your connection, I'll give you advice, all of
Yeah.
those kind of things. Noelle brings up an interesting point around, and sorry we can't get to all the comments, but I am highlighting them on the screen. Mentorship has taken a new level with LinkedIn creators, literally influencing thousands of people, whether you know it or not.
Mm. Oh, yes. 100%. That's I feel like That's real though. A lot of the mentors that I mean, I would consider you a mentor in a lot of different ways for me and my business and my career. Best friend mentor, made it official. But that's how I see people. I mean, there's different I don't feel like I'm going to have one mentor for the rest of my life and I'm like that's my person like for the rest of my life my mentor. I think life mentors come in seasons and some stay for a really long time and some stay for just a season of your life and some stay for just the moment, you know? I yeah, I feel like it's it feels like I'm talking about dating because I'm like no labels. It's just like, you know, you vibe.
Not you projecting over here.
No, I'm projecting. But I I like Maria's comment about like the fear of asking for help or bothering people because do you feel like that was your situation with mentorship? Like what's your relationship with asking for help?
I do struggle with that overall for sure. I mean, I'll give you a simple example, but I remember when I was doing like these kind of like these farmers markets, but for like small businesses. So I would like open up a tent and sell T-shirts, mugs, all these kind of things, art for Plural. Back when that's what we were doing, and that is not a one person job. Let me just be real, right? Like even
It
to
is
put
not.
up the fucking tent that's gonna like cover your table, you need more than one person. Like I
Mm.
was convinced. My aunt was asking me. I was like, no, I don't need you. My girlfriend was asking me at the time. I was like, listen, I'm good. And then I thought about it. And I was like, fuck, I really do have to ask. Oh, and then instead of asking my family or my girlfriend, I told my friend to come through. Right. My friend, it was supposed to be open at like 10 a.m. This motherfucker didn't show up till like 5 p.m. So thankfully, my girlfriend at the time was there to help me with the stuff. But it brings back the fear around like, yo, if I would have trusted you, you would have let me down. I should have done this myself.
Um,
You know? But also I think in this era of like, yo, build your LLC, yo,
oh God.
don't let them take advantage of your time. Like, that's consulting. And I'm just like, damn, are people even less likely to give advice these days? Because now they feel like they need to charge for it. And that's another thing as well. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm a little intimidated to ask certain people for advice because I'm like, damn, like they probably think I'm trying to like pick their brain, take advantage of them, which is like mentors wouldn't exist
Yeah.
if they didn't let us pick their brain for free. You know what I mean? So there's
Mhm.
all those sort of anxious thoughts that run through my mind just with the idea of mentorship.
I'm gonna give you a weird ass analogy, but it just came to my mind. Because I think mentors, the best ones, are the ones who don't call themselves mentors. I
Yeah.
cringe at people who call themselves mentors. I'm like, I don't know about you. Like, I feel like you're just doing it for the name, or just I don't know. It feels weird. I'll give you an analogy of my parents because my mom is a Capricorn woman who always wants to make businesses and money, and she's just thinking about how to make any type of money anywhere.
Yo, my mom
My
too.
dad is my dad is very opposite. My dad is like, I have my job and I come home and I just want to relax. I don't want another job. I don't want to do all these little businesses. Like he just wants to relax. One thing that he picked up recently was we do semitas. I don't know. I think Mexicans call it conchas. Those like that bread, sweet bread, pan dulce. Okay, I won't go
Oh
too
yeah,
deep
yeah,
into
yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
yeah, we call it semitas in Honduras.
Okay.
But my dad started making semitas and he started baking like all the time. He started giving it to the neighbors, started giving it to the primos. Like he was like into this. And my mom's like, oh my God, hay que hacer una panadería, hay que hacer esto, hay que hacer lo otro. Like she was trying to think of a business. Like you can sell these, like make money.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, no, I just want to enjoy what I do. Like I do it because it's fun. And I say that analogy because I feel like those are the best mentors that I've had are the ones that just do it because they fucking love to do it and they want to spread knowledge and pass it on to the next person. Not that I'm throwing any type of shade to people who do want to start a business and are coaches or life coaches or paying or consulting, whatever. But I think like in my experience, the mentors that have taught me so much, like AC, she didn't come in and she was like, "Oh, I'm a mentor this girl and I'm gonna tell her everything that I need that she needs to know about negotiation." She came in and she's like, "Oh, you're going through this? Like, this is what I've
Yeah.
learned and this is how you can apply it to." I feel like you need the people who just love to do it and want to spread that knowledge and give back in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think people shouldn't monetize in certain instances for consulting, depending on the level of work. And we all have our own qualifiers for who we give
Yeah.
advice to for free and who we don't. But that's the thing, is like everyone has their own sort of qualifications. But it's interesting. So you're saying, like, if I were to get a mentor, don't go to your mom because she's gonna charge me. Is what you're telling me?
My mom, she'll find a way. She'll find a way. If she's not charging you, she's probably selling you something.
Yo,
You don't
not
even wear
not
makeup. You're
you.
gonna walk away with Avon. I'm like, okay.
Yo, why you snitching on your mom, yo? Dropping
I
all the
love
secrets.
her. I love her. She's always thinking of how I can just make more money. And I'm like, Mom, I just wanna chill.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really interesting, this idea, because we're like throwing out all these like different terms. Another term that has become popular is this board of directors. It's like, yo,
Yeah.
why am I only talking to one person? Like, let me build a whole squad of people that can like help elevate me. Like, that is such a dope
Yeah.
idea. And I haven't thought about, I kind of want to think about, like, yo, if I could dream and build a, I don't know, 6 people, 5 people, board of directors, and I don't even know these people yet, but like I would pick them, and them, and maybe that's like a goal to like network with them and find them and like
Mm,
get them on my board of directors. You know what I mean?
yes. Okay.
Ah,
He's gonna send out applications soon.
applications. I'm gonna use the podcast as an excuse to network with them, and then that's how I reel them in. You know what I mean?
That part, that part. 100% though, your board of directors, like, I like it because it's deeper than mentors. Mentors to me feels very corporate and feels very like
Yeah.
career oriented. And I feel like I see my therapist as just a life mentor. I see my trainer as just my fitness mentor, my health mentor. Like, I have so many people on my board of directors who just make me a better version of Odalis, of a podcaster, of a businesswoman, of a career woman, of, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you need people in your life that just elevate you. And it comes with asking for that help and realizing you need it. But you're really open about therapy. When did you like decide that you wanted to ask for help in that way?
Um, that's an interesting one. I'm only laughing because I did an episode on this, and I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to get into it again. But I went to therapy for different reasons. All right, you know what's funny?
Uh,
Yeah, I went to therapy for different reasons. It had nothing to do with my career. It was almost like I've tried a bunch of different tactics, and it didn't work. So I'm just like, let me seek some expert advice. You know what I mean?
and you did it by yourself, those different tactics?
Did I do it by myself? Yeah. I just became frustrated, and I was like, let me talk to somebody who probably knows a lot more than me on this particular subject.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
We don't
yeah,
have to go deep into it, but yeah.
it's not that deep. It's just funny. I don't yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Now me tienes curiosa. I'm like, what is this conversation? Tune into the
It,
podcast.
yeah, tune into the podcast. It's yeah, I spoke about why.
No, it's I feel like it's, I want to ask this question because I don't know if it's a cultural thing. Like, for the Latinas in the space, I'm curious what y'all think. As a Latina woman, I felt like I there wasn't a lot of space for me to ask questions, and like I didn't want to seem like I was weak if I didn't know how to do something.
Yeah.
And there's so much more Latina women stuff that I could talk about. But I think in that respect of asking for help, like I grew up very independently. My mom had 7 kids running around. My dad was working. Like, my mom did not have time to like answer all my questions on top of 6 people and all their questions. So for me, I figured my stuff out way before I had to ask anyone's help. Like, I exhausted every single option. I'm like, okay, well, can I find this out here? Who do I ask outside of my
Yeah.
family? Because they don't got time for me like that. Um, but I figured things out and I did things on my own. So it was a struggle for me to ask for help. But once I started to ask for help, I like now do it all the time. Like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Yeah.
But did you feel that as like a male, like a Latino man? And you also grew up kind of single, your only child, right?
I did. I grew up an only child. I
Yeah.
mean, we spoke about this on other episodes, but I have brothers and sisters, but with other,
Yeah.
oh, just on my dad's side.
Dominican men don't cheat.
Oh God, yeah.
Hashtag.
Uh, hashtag Dominican men don't cheat. So yeah, I grew up by myself. Even when I asked my mom, I was like, "Yo, mom, what was I like as a kid?" She would describe these very like isolating moments though. Like I would just be like
Mhm.
playing with these cars by myself, or even when I had friends around, like I still wanted to like do things by myself. And don't get me wrong, y'all, I had friends, y'all, all right, but I just like to do things by myself, and I think that just like continued as I grew older as well. Even till this day, like people that I work with, like they tell me like, yo, you need to let go of certain things so that we can help you and this thing can move faster. So it's something that it's probably like one of the things that I continue to struggle with, again, because I'm just scared of being let down and being disappointed.
Yeah.
One of these, we actually got a question from Joel. He said, what are y'all's thoughts on choosing a mentor who can't really provide knowledge on your field if they don't work in the same, but can provide networking advice on the industry you're interested in? I mean, it sounds like, we'd love to hear your thoughts on that, but it sounds like this person could still provide value in some way, not necessarily all the ways. But I think that goes back to like, you don't have to have one person help you. Like you can build that
Mhm.
board of directors where there are various people helping you, and maybe you find one for the industry, one for the job role, one that looks like you, etc., and just to kind of like build out that team.
100%. I mean, it's also knowing that your board of directors will rotate. Some people will be there for years and years and years, and some people you just bring in as industry experts to help you in that one part of your life, your career, whatever that is. And it doesn't have to be this long form commitment and expectation on them staying there for a long time. But I feel like it's valuable to get any person's feedback, networking advice. I mean, it's valuable.
Yeah, and then Giovanni said, if you got a toothache, you go to a dentist. Your whip break down, you go to a mechanic. Therapists are trained to, deal with certain things. Like the stigma with mental health services is real. Proud of you for going to chat with someone, for sure,
Mhm.
for sure. And this probably relates to you, is like, but as an immigrant kid, sometimes it's also being parentified, parentified.
Parentified.
What does
I
that
like
mean,
that
Maria?
word.
And this one's actually interesting as well. This one was the one that I said you could probably relate to. For Latinas, we were taught to be self-sacrificing super women. I think this is embedded into cultural value of Marian Marianismo. I don't know these words. I can't read or I've never heard of these words. All right, we are not encouraged to ask for help because we put everyone's needs matters first. That's something you actually talk about pretty often,
I do.
just like growing up in a Latina household.
Yep. Being the youngest Latina too. I like growing up real young. All of these.
All of these.
It's funny. Maria's comment reminds me of this. I think someone commented like reverse mentoring or something like that. And
Mm.
honestly, I never heard of that term, so I had to Google it. I'm like, what's reverse mentoring? Um, did we kind of do that our whole lives though with our parents? Like I feel like at least at least for me, I'm like, man, I was a translator, still am. I'm verified translator at this point. But yeah, like helping with immigration cases and court cases and reading documents that I had no business reading at like 10, 11 years old, but I was doing that for my parents. And I always say like it's so hard for me to picture my parents and like how vulnerable it must have been for them to ask their daughter for help when they can't understand the
Yeah,
language. So I give them so much like grace and empathy because I just can't imagine what that feeling is like. But they had to go in that vulnerable state of being mentored. I feel like reverse mentoring for me, I've never had it before. I think it's a really vulnerable place to be in.
that's really interesting. I've never thought about that. Like being of a certain age and having to ask someone maybe younger, less experienced in life and all these things of like, help me, please.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'm curious for you too. Like, as you said, like this theme of like asking for help, but like for various people, I think is really interesting. Like, what's an area for you where you're just like, I need to find someone to help me for this? Like, yes, you got your job, but I'm sure there are other assets I'm sorry,
Yeah.
facets of your life and your career and all these things. Whereas like maybe the previous person that asked for like salary negotiation help may not be this person for this. Because I know certain areas for me that I'm starting to find or search for community, and I'm starting to look for mentorship. But I'm curious for you, like, what are you thinking about?
That's an interesting question that I honestly have not thought about. I'm curious for you since you have the answer. Let me think on it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think for this new phase, I think too why I had such trouble asking for help previously. I felt like the formula was out there. Like my dream job was to work at Facebook. All right, well, how do I get a job at Facebook? Like I always thought like I don't need to ask Facebook employees, like just go to the
Mhm.
job description. Like the information is public. They literally tell you everything that they want in a candidate. Go get that experience and then interview. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like,
Mhm.
all right. Or even like negotiating. That wasn't public as much, but I was just like, let me just search for information online, find it, and let me just do it. But this new area in my life, I feel a little less confident in. Like even when I was interviewing, getting all those things, I had a resume that I can look at, right? And I feel like building your own company, growing a company to the point where you can start raising funds, and then raising funds, like what does all that look like? There's so many unspoken things that go on behind the scenes that I don't think I'm privy to.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to think like maybe I do need someone that can like guide me to the point where I can build up that resume where I may not need that help anymore. But yeah, that's what I think I need help in.
Is it that you're less confident or is it that you don't know the space? Or is it maybe both? Because I feel like there's a difference between like being confident in what you do and also not knowing. I think both can exist. Like you're confident in what you do and you also don't know how to move in this space because it's new.
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, probably a little bit of both.
I don't know. I think the first thing that came to mind was honestly like balancing it all because I do it all for the podcast and speaking engagements and this and that. And sometimes I feel like I have a good handle on it. And then other times I'm like, oh my God, I need help with all of this. Um, and I don't know how to always balance it correctly. And I don't know if there is a correct way to balance the career woman and entrepreneurial life and building out this business. But I know if I want to grow, I have to start delegating and scaling up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a fear that comes with that. I'm like, I'm not trying to spend too much funds, but I have to invest in it. But what if I lose money? I didn't do it for the money. And then there's all these like thoughts that come with it. Um, so that was one space that came to mind. Honestly, if I'm being really vulnerable, the space that I feel like I need a lot of mentorship in is being a Latina woman that's ambitious. And how do you balance ambition with wanting the things that I want in general? I'll be
Mm-hmm.
more specific. As a Latina, I haven't said this out loud and it's a little vulnerable for me to say, but like one of my biggest dreams is to be a mom. Like I want to have a family. I want to be a mama. I can't wait till I got my little cipotillos like running around. And I want that life where I'm that mom. Like I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm taking care of them. We watching movies, we traveling, like we're doing all that. But I also have dreams of being a career woman and being like a boss bitch, but I've never seen it done simultaneously. I've never seen an ambitious woman who's also the mom and you know the wifey and doing all the things that you know like the women in my family would do, but also have their own jobs and careers and money and I don't
Mm.
know. I see like Georgina on Netflix, but I'm like, this girl got hella money. Okay, like it's not real.
Like where's my Cristiano? Where he at?
Right. I'm on this size. But you know, like I don't really see that often. And so that's a space
Mm-hmm.
being super vulnerable where I want more mentorship around. I wanna see a Latina who's done it, who can at least be a resource and support and you know, for me, I don't know.
Oh, you see what's on the screen?
Oh, y'all gonna make me cry. Yeah, that's real. That's real.
It's interesting this idea of like mentorship. There's almost like a admiration that we sometimes have for the people that we're seeking advice from as well. Like in
Yeah.
some ways, what you're saying is like you're searching for representation also. Like I don't know, like mentors,
Mhm.
maybe they even give us hope even without the guidance, just like them being there. It's like a, not only do these people exist, but I have a relationship with them, and like you're like closer to that dream just by being close to them. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
that energy got to rub off on you. You know what I mean? The vibes, the all of that stuff.
Oof. What's that thing? I just seen it yesterday. You're the average of the five people you surround
Yeah.
yourself with. I mean, that's such a, oh, thank you, Ruby. I think that's such a real thing. The people you got in your life, like your vibe really attracts your tribe. It really, the people you have around you
Oh.
can really inspire you and motivate you and be that comfort for you. And I'm gonna be real, as a woman, that was really hard for me to find. I found it later in my
Mm.
life, and I'm lucky, so blessed that I have an amazing group of women and men in my life that are so dope, so real, so raw. That was really hard for me to find in my life because women can be each other's worst haters. I'm being really honest. They can be each
Mm.
other's worst haters, and we need more women that are going to hype each other up. And thank God for the women that I've met on the podcast in my life, in my friend group. We need more. We need more of that.
Yeah, I wanna hear from the audience too. Like, cause for me, I'm transparently like this conversation is really helping me to like rethink or reframe what these relationships could even look like, right? Like
Mhm.
even the idea of, I think commitment and time was a big thing when we first started the conversation, literally like an hour ago. And now
Mhm.
I'm thinking like, shit, I don't even need to meet with them that consistently. Like to your point, even changing my circle by osmosis, I think is the word.
Mhm.
I'm starting to pull from that energy and even just see that representation more often. Like it almost like
Yeah.
gives me hope. Yeah, I don't know. Like this whole conversation is really making me rethink what some of these relationships look like, and you're making me want to like go through my text messages, my LinkedIn DMs, like, yo, who, well, like, what friends do I have that like are mentors, but I've never really considered them mentors?
Yeah.
And it's almost giving me a reason or an excuse to like not only find those messages, but like maybe reach back out to them and be like,
Yeah.
just let them know how valuable they've been to me, even though it's been like an informal relationship. I want to do that. Yeah, this is making me want to reach out to people.
Well, you're changing my perspective on sometimes mentors just give you that hope that it's possible that I mean, it's the same, it's the first gen shit, right? Like you can't always, it doesn't feel like you can be what you can't see. It feels like
Yeah,
it's almost borderline impossible. Like, am I going to really get there? Am I dreaming a little too much? But then you meet people who give you that hope of like, okay,
yeah,
there's a path somewhere. May not be as clear as I think, but there's a path here somewhere where I can get to or create my own little path. But it's yeah, you're helping me rethink that too. It's just hope and affirmation too. It's like almost affirmative to like meet someone and just like, okay, yes, I could do it. I'm not crazy. I could do this.
yeah, exactly. People are really feeling that quote. If you don't use it, I might steal that one of the others. That shit is good. Your vibe
What?
attracts your tribe. That was good.
Oh, I heard that somewhere else. I'll take the credit for it, but yeah, I heard it somewhere else, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
As we're wrapping up, I'll read some of these last comments, but let's think about any takeaways or things that you want to leave the audience with. So, Ruby also said the journey of growing never ends. You are making me realize that at 45, I still have a need for mentors. I love that, Ruby. Thanks for
Oof.
sharing that, and thanks everybody for tapping in. LinkedIn user. I'm just gonna assume this is Samara because she always pops up as LinkedIn user for some reason. Um, Dream big. So very impressed with both of you. You you both are the future of Latinx in tech. Girl, y'all making us blush up here. Stop it.
So cute.
Uh,
I I just hope that like everyone who's tuning in can just know that mentors can can be that source of hope. To use Babel's words, like it can really be your source of hope, and it there's no time or commitment, despite what corporate or these other organizations make you think. There is no time commitment to being a mentor or to be mentored. I think it's just about finding dope people, your tribe that will help you elevate.
Yes, and anonymous LinkedIn user apparently is not Samara, it's Julissa. So sorry, Julissa.
Hey, hey.
I love that. I love that. I would leave y'all with, think about if you had 5 people in your board of directors. Like, you don't even have to know these people, but like dream about like who would it be? Like, who would be on your board of directors? Also, when you put that list down, how unlikely is it that you can actually connect with at least one of them? I'll be sliding in, yo, let me tell you, I'll be sliding in everybody's DMs on LinkedIn. Yo, to the point, I'm not even joking.
They max you out?
Yo, they wrote me a message that prompted, was like, you're a bot. We're gonna lock you out for the next day. LinkedIn thinks I'm a bot because of how many LinkedIn DMs I'll be sending. Okay, so send them DMs, slide in there. You never know who's gonna be your mentor or whatever label you want to put on it, or no labels.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to be a mentor too. I feel like some people think that they need to be hella like in successful or whatever. They have to make it to be a mentor. But I think not, people don't need someone that's like hella far into their career success, whatever that means. They just need someone that's 2 steps ahead of them who can help them get there. So
Agree. All right, y'all. Well, this has been dope. Another episode of the series Unfiltered with your boy Pavel and
Liz.
all right,
Bye,
y'all.
y'all.
Bye. Mi gente, that wraps up this week's episode of the Quién, Eres podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please do us a favor, leave a rating and a review. The only way that we're going to redefine professionalism is by ensuring that these experiences get heard by as many people as possible. And your engagement is going to help us do that. Thank you, and see you next time.